another stream about Tim Pool. Well, when duty calls, you have to, I suppose, stay up until midnight to talk about Tim Pool yet again. All right. So here's the deal, guys. Today I had the pleasure of speaking with Lisa Pool by phone. Now, as many of you know, Lisa today dropped this video. Where is it? Oh no, where is the video? Where it is? There it is. There it is. There it is. Lisa today dropped this video on her YouTube channel, and I spoke to her right after it dropped, and she only had like a couple hundred views when she and I spoke, and now she's got over 13,000 views, which I'm actually really thrilled for her for. And I've been looking in the comments, and we've got my little trolls in the chat that are so jealous that I have this and they don't. Goodbye, turtle boy. Goodbye. I do love blocking trolls in the chat at midnight. So Lisa dropped this video earlier today. I want the real Tim Pool, my brother, to come back. As many of you know, somewhat accidentally, it kind of started as a gag, been following what's been going on with Tim Pool and Adam for the last week, but I kind of accidentally preemptively broke the news of why Adam was actually fired from Timcast a couple weeks before that because I was being persnickety on a stream, and I've been following it along ever since. And here's the thing. I really want people, and tonight essentially tonight what we're gonna do is I haven't actually seen this video yet. I've talked to Lisa. I understand the broad strokes of her story. I have been speaking to other people who worked for Tim, kind of like behind the scenes. And so I understand what's going on. And we're gonna basically watch this video. This is the first time I've had to sit down and watch Lisa's video today, and I want to do a reaction to it and tell you guys what I think and maybe analyze the psychology of the entire situation. But I also want to just take a step back here for a second and say a few things real quick. Emphasize, thank you for the super chat. Hi, everyone that has me blocked. There he is. There he is. Before we get into this, I want to say this. My interest in this situation with Tim and his castle of people, it's not necessarily just just to be talking about a really big podcaster. It's really not. I know a lot of people have been saying, it's just all about drama, Carlin's drifting on the drama, all this stuff. It's really not. My involvement in this started after I did the stream prior to Adam's tell-all video, about a week, 2 weeks prior to Adam's tell-all video, where I talked about why Adam was fired from Timcast. And I actually talked about it before he did because Adam told me 2 years ago. And so after I did that video, what happened is Tim Pool's former employees started reaching out to me in private. And I started learning a lot more about what's been going on at the Cast Castle. And my interest in this is really more from an organizational psychology perspective. That's the truth. People can believe it or not. I'm an organizational psychologist by training. I have had my own organizational psychology practice for over 10 years now. I studied workplace bullying for a really long time. I studied workplace bullying for almost a decade. I wrote a dissertation on workplace bullying. Toxic work environments are the reason that I became an organizational psychologist. That's just the truth. I have always wanted to help people that have been in bad work environments. I have been in bad work environments myself. That's part of why I went to school to study organizational psychology. I had a lot of really bad work environments and really bad bosses, and I said, there's got to be something better than this. People spend their lives at work. They shouldn't have to be miserable. And I really dedicated a lot of my life to fixing the workplace and helping people in toxic work situations. And everything that I have heard in the last couple of weeks that I have been talking about this Tim Pool stuff has been really, really bad. It's been really bad. And the thing of it is in situations where there's workplace bullying and toxicity, the people that are most impacted by it are so rarely helped. They so rarely have anyone who has their back. They so rarely have anyone to stick up for them because when people are bullied in the workplace, it's normally by the boss, and everyone is afraid of speaking up against them, against the boss. Everyone's afraid of telling the truth, even though everyone usually knows what's going on. Everyone's afraid of telling the truth. And as someone who has been in that position, who has coached people who has been in that position, who has gone in and fixed bullying problems in organizations, it is devastating to be a target of a toxic boss when you don't feel like anyone has your back. And the people that I've been speaking to are good people, and they don't deserve the way they're being treated. And so people can think I'm grifting on this situation all they want, and no one's going to turn down views. I mean, how many people have made videos about this? No one's going to turn down views. No one's going to turn down, an audience that has a YouTube channel. So sure, there's that. But to be honest, that's not really my interest in this. My interest is that there's a lot of people who've been hurt in this situation, and it's not fair and it's not acceptable. And I'm not going to tell their stories for them. They have to want to tell their stories themselves. But that's why I'm covering it. And I thought it was very brave of Adam to tell his story. His story was not what I expected it to be. I was kind of having some fun with it in the beginning, like with the whole Adam chickened out stream that I did. His story was not what I expected it to be when he actually told it. I was deeply touched by Adam's story, and I said so. And I've been able to speak to some really great people that have been involved in this in the last couple weeks, and if they want to tell their story, I am more than happy to help facilitate that. If they don't want to tell their story, that's fine too. I'm not going to pressure anyone to do anything they don't want to do. But I will help them behind the scenes regardless. It doesn't really matter to me whether they come on my channel or not. And that's the truth. So here's where we are. AD says, welcome to Carlin Cast. Oh, no, 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 no. We're not doing that. Guys, before we jump into this video, I've got a couple issue orders of housekeeping. I do want to tell everyone about the rules of the chat. The rules of the chat are simple. If you're going to be participatory in my chat, you have to follow these two rules. I do not have an unmoderated chat. I do not have a chat like Tim Pools. You cannot say whatever you want here. The first one is don't be a dick. Now, what does don't be a dick mean? You will not insult me. You will not insult other people in this chat. I don't really care if you insult the people that we're watching, although I would ask that you be very nice to Lisa. Don't insult Lisa. Like, Lisa is not a public person. Lisa is speaking out. Lisa is being very brave, and I would really strongly prefer if people were nice to her. I don't allow guests on my channel to be insulted when they're on my channel, so I would really prefer I would prefer if people would treat her with courtesy as well. Let's pretend she's here live. She might be in the chat right now, who knows? But don't be a dick. If you insult me or if you insult other people in the chat, you're going to find yourself blocked real quick. Number 2, no whining. I'm too old for this shit. I can't take it. If I ask you to stop doing something, you're either going to stop doing it or you're not going to be here very long. But if I hear, I'm not doing it, I'm not doing it, I'm not doing it, I'm not doing it, you're such a big meanie, Carlin, you're so mean, oh my God, you're horrible, me, 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 me. If I hear whining, you're not going to be here very long. So don't be a dick and no whining. That's it. Yes, confirmed. Lisa is here. Be very nice to her, because she is doing something very brave today, and I want everyone to respect that. So guys, please mouth the like button for Lisa if you would be so kind. Now, the last order of business, before we jump, well, actually no, we got a couple more. We have 2 more orders of business before we watch Lisa's video tonight. The other order of business is that one of the people that I have been speaking with, his name is Ben. He is Tim Pool's former network engineer. You may have seen him on some episodes of the Cast Castle. Hopefully he's not watching right now and he is sleeping, but who the heck knows. But Ben will be live on the channel on Thursday. Ben has a story to tell, and you know, we're going to allow him the opportunity to tell his side of the story. And what I'm going to tell you is that he will absolutely validate that Adam told the truth in his stream, and you're going to be able to ask him questions, and we're all going to be very nice to him as well. And that's going to be live on Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Blast Cop Badger, I would like to interview, yes, really interview Dr. K at some point and everyone involved in this. Just a curious soul. Well, you know, send me a DM on Twitter, man, and we'll see what's up. And we'll have to see we'll have to see about that. So guys, please set the reminder. Join me on Thursday for a chat with Ben. I think you guys are really going to appreciate it. It's going to be constructive. I'm not going to allow any, like, you know, things that are blown up or outrage junkie stuff. My regular viewers know that. And I appreciate that. All right. That is our quick order of housekeeping. Now, one last thing I want to say before we get started with the video with Lisa. And I really, really want to make this very clear. Hang on, we got one more. Blast Call Badger. Also, thank you for being one of those who balance out the Tim foolery. Please keep it up. Well, I appreciate that. Listen, I don't hate Tim Pool. I really don't hate Tim Pool. I actually don't have feelings either way about Tim Pool, if I'm honest about it. I don't like him. I don't hate him. I've never spoken to the man. I've never had a conversation with the man. I do not appreciate some of the things that he's done to his employees. As someone who has spent my career trying to help employees in bad work environments, I do not appreciate some of the things that he's done. And I will say that right now. But nothing that Tim has done makes him irredeemable. People make mistakes, you know, and there are ways that this situation can be fixed. And I guess my hope is that maybe this gets Tim's attention to know that something is wrong with the way his organization is being run, with the way he's treating people. And I really hope, and I genuinely do mean this, I hope that Tim is able to be self reflective about this situation. I do not think that this will be the end of Tim Pool. I don't think this will be the end of him at all. I think this is going to be a blip on his radar. I think that Tim Pool is going to be monumentally successful with everything that he's doing. And that's because Tim is an absolute workhorse. He works harder than almost anyone else. And working hard and showing up and being consistent, that is like almost the entire game. Do you guys have any idea how many lazy people there are in the world who don't even show up every day consistently? Tim does that. He does that in spades. He is extraordinarily smart. He has a gifted way of putting information together. What he has been able to build is nothing short of incredible, particularly considering how he's running his company right now, which is not good at all. And can you imagine what he can do if he can get his shit together and be self reflective about this and learn a thing or two about how you treat people? Because if Tim can figure this out, he is going to be unstoppable, but he has to figure it out. But I don't hate him. I'm not trying to put him on blast. That is not the intent of this. This started as kind of like a gag for me because I was a little bit bored. But like now I'm serious about this. People are being hurt. It's not okay. And I hope that he gets a much needed wake up call from all of this. That is my real hope. Emphasize says, I quit watching Cast Castle because the forced vibes and the turnover of almost everyone. It's not the same. Sad, actually. Well, yes, the turnover of everyone. There's a reason for that turnover. There's a reason for that. There was another chat I wanted to display. Let me see. I wanted to display this one. I have watched drama channels before. The things you say and the vibe of your streams is nothing like what I get from drama channels because I don't want to be a drama channel. I don't want to destroy people. If I talk about other people and what they're saying and what they're doing, it's because I'm interested in the psychology of it. I'm interested in the underlying motivations of it. I'm interested in exploring the human experience. I don't vilify people. I don't think the world is black and white. I don't think that Tim is a horrible person. I don't believe in good or bad. I don't believe in these things. And so if I'm talking about other people, it's not because, ooh, drama. That's not what it is. It's because I'm interested in the human experience, and some people will like that and get it, and some people won't, and that's okay. Emphasize says it's quite lonely at the top. Well, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be lonely, but you can't be a dick to people and get away with it. The Rabbi X says, I want to complain, Doc. I effed up and decided to get in a hot tub on a cold, windy night. I'm Burr. Hi, Lisa. Good to have you here. I know where you're coming from. Listen, man, there's nothing better than a hot tub on a cold, snowy night. I don't know if you have snow where you live, but gosh, I love that stuff. All right, guys. Now, with all that out of the way, please mount that like button for me. On this channel, we mount the like button. We do not smash the like button. We mount the like button. Please subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already. I do streams almost every single day, usually at 5 o'clock, sometimes at 6, depending on, what day it is. Please watch some of my other content. My other content that's not about Tim is really good. Go watch Socialism Saturday. Go watch the Flat Earth Conversation. Go watch the Schools Exposed investigations. Go watch my Art of the Trigger stuff. I do lots of other content on this channel that has absolutely nothing to do with Tim Pool at all. But here we are for the moment, and I want to welcome Lisa in the chat and thank you for doing this video and for posting your experience. And I'm really grateful that we got a chance to speak today. You're a wonderful woman, really good energy. I really enjoyed it. And guys, we're just gonna watch what Lisa has to say, and this is the first time I have seen it. And so I'm going to give you my commentary on the situation, along with other things that I know. And I can't reveal everything, but there's some things I can talk about. And we're gonna watch and we're gonna see what she has to say. Blast Cop Badger, I worked 3 jobs as a retired soldier, single father, and wannabe YouTuber all at the same time. And I gotta say, you, Tim, Adam, Mary, y'all incredible motivation. Just keep it up, Blast Cop Badger. Just keep the grind going and just have fun with it. Just have fun. There's a long time with this channel, mostly in 2021, when I stopped having fun with it. And it didn't make it worth it. Let me tell you what. Just have fun with what you're doing and it'll all come together. All right, guys, let's dig in.
Okay. I hope you guys can hear me okay. I'm going to do these dishes. I don't like doing dishes and I find it very boring. So at least I can tell you guys what happened while I do the dishes.
I hope Lisa doesn't mind me telling this story, but one of the things I loved about speaking to Lisa today is that she said to me, Carlin, I didn't even want to put Tim's name in the title. I just wanted to call it Doing the Dishes. And I was like, I completely get it. Like, you have no idea. But of course, then people wouldn't have known it was about Tim. And so that's the way it goes.
So I know I put a video up on my TikTok kind of
I'll turn my mic down.
It, right? So last year, October, some stuff happened. And I had to just up and go. I was living here in Illinois. And my 2 kids and I we had to find somewhere to live fast. And which means I had to find a job. I had to find a place to live with my kids. It was all I got the rug pulled out from under me. But I can't get into detail about it. That's all you guys need to know. And then, so what happened was I called my mom. And my mom, I told her, I said, Mom, I don't know what to do. I'm screwed. I need help. And I found a job, a full-time job here in Illinois, Chicago area, making $20 an hour. Wasn't a lot, but it was something. And and it came with benefits and retirement plan and pension. And I'm like, oh my God, if I can just find a place to live, this could work. That's all I needed. And I could put the kids in daycare.
I gotta say, like, finding a job with a pension nowadays, like, come on, that's really something. Mountain Mama, thanks for the share, Lisa. Sincerely hope this whole process can bring you peace. Thank you, Mountain Mama.
School, I'll be fine. So when I called my mom already had moved to West Virginia. My brother Tim had kind of got her a house. And Chris was out there with Tim. I was like the only one left here in the Chicago area. Well, Tim calls me out of nowhere. What's going on? I said, Tim, I told him the situation. told him what was going on. And he's like, well, come to West Virginia. And I said, I'd rather not do that. Thank you, though. And this what a rather stay here in Illinois. He said, well, I can give you a job making $48,000 a year, work for my house, get my property manager. I said, oh, okay. Yeah, I guess, but I'd rather just stay here. My kids to be here. And I said, you know, I know you helped Skylar, our cousin, the $3,000 when COVID hit. She lost her job and lost her place to live. She was homeless with her 2 kids. She almost had to go to women's shelter. Tim out of nowhere sent her $3,000 in 2 seconds, which was very nice of him. Now, I'm not trying to I'm not, how do I put this? I don't care. I just needed a boost. I just needed help for a first month's rent and a deposit. That's it. I don't need any other money. That was it. I just needed that. And if he couldn't help me, I'd have to find something else another way, probably go to a women's shelter. But it was weird. And so I didn't want to put my kids through that. So he told me that he would not contribute to a slave state. He did not want to give me any money because he did not want to contribute to a slave state, leaving me like shit. That means I had to go to a homeless shelter. So I didn't give him an answer. I told him no at first. And then I talked to my mom, and my mom was like, you really, really should come out here. So I did it. I went out there. I was out there in October of last year, and I stayed out there for about 3-4 months. You guys.
So, okay. So in regards to Tim helping someone else, here's one of the things that I've kind of learned about Tim in the past couple of weeks. And, you know, it's a weird thing because from what I've heard, Tim does actually seem to be very, very generous with the people in his life from what I'll call the before times, before Tim was rich and famous, right? So I have actually heard from a lot of people that Tim will absolutely help out people from his past, hire people from his past. He kind of seems to have this habit of taking in people that are from his past to hire them, give them jobs. And it's almost like a double-edged thing, right? Because I have talked about in previous streams how I do believe that Tim has narcissistic personality disorder. I didn't believe that a couple weeks ago. I really didn't. I am so slow to diagnose people with narcissism because I think it's just way overly diagnosed. And I think a lot of people use it as a pejorative. When I say someone has narcissistic personality disorder, I don't mean that he's a bad person. I am not saying that. People with narcissistic personality disorder, it's part your genetics and it's part your upbringing. And neither of those things are Tim's fault. So I'm not saying that Tim is a bad person, but narcissistic personality disorder has it has things that people around you need to be aware of, because it's a different type of thing that you have to understand what you're interacting with. Anyway, I say this because, there are 2 different perspectives to what Tim does in terms of helping people out. One could look at it and say, Tim is so generous. He's making sure he's taking care of the people he knew before. He's giving them jobs. He's making sure they have houses, making sure they have places to stay. He's doing it out of the goodness of his heart and all this stuff. And I think it is very generous what Tim does with people. However, I don't think it's purely altruistic. I think it's because he likes having people around that are under his control. Saying that you're not going to help out your sister when you need it because you don't want to contribute to a slave state, but you'll gladly give her a job if she moves to West Virginia. I'm sorry, Tim has a house in Maryland. Is Maryland that much different? I mean, I know that Illinois is not Illinois is on the bottom of the list in terms of states to live in, but is Maryland really much better? I don't really understand that at all. Miss Mary says, Lisa, Cash App, please. Christmas is right around the corner, and I want this woman to have a Merry Christmas for her kids. We all chip in, please. Oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Lisa, if you have a link where people can donate to you, feel free to drop it in the chat or text it to me or whatever. And if you don't have it right now, don't worry. I can send it out to people in the morning if we can get something set up. That'd be pretty great. And so I think that that's a great idea. Thank you, Miss Mary, for bringing that up. We can definitely arrange that. That would be fantastic. Um, but I also but like I really think that what Tim does is about keeping people under control. I think it is. I don't think it's necessarily about being generous. I think he probably thinks it is. But I don't see any reason why he couldn't have just helped his sister. Now, I mean, like, there's something to be said again about like offering a job. I think that that's perfectly fine, but it feels wrong to me, to be honest. Like, why? Divine says, "My sister has helped me after losing my car." I think we're supposed to help our family, you know? All right, let's keep going.
Probably saw me on the past castle. And it was okay. I went out there and I did my best. Sorry if these dishes are loud. I did my best to try to get that place in order. There was socks, laundry, beanbag stuff laying around. I did the best I could to clean it up. And
Oh, wow.
And I organized this pantry. I made it. I think they needed someone to make it look like a home. I mean, it was a workspace.
They needed a mother.
They needed that, but
they needed a mother.
It just looked like a messy frat house. So I went in there and I did my duty and I cleaned it up, and I think I did a really great job. And so, at least that's what everyone told me. So the first week I'm working there, I had a vacuum. I got a vacuum. I was so excited with this vacuum. So I was like, this is it. The vacuum they had was one of those
It's a frat house.
Shark vacuums or something where you need to charge it, They're kind of crappy. I don't like them. I'm sorry. And so I wanted to get a real vacuum, one that like plugged in the wall that worked. And so I, found one on sale, like $100. And so what I did was, I'm walking in the door with my vacuum, so excited. And I walk into a situation.
Lisa, don't worry about it. We can get something set up and I can send it out to everyone tomorrow whenever we get it set up. So don't worry about it if you don't have something set up right now. We can take care of it. There are still many more streams to do about this, sadly and unfortunately. So don't worry about it. But how generous of everyone in the chat to offer. I think that's really great.
That was really tense. And I was like, wow, this is really, really tense. I didn't know anybody that well. I only had met a few employees at that point. So it was only like a couple days I'd been there. And then I walk into Tim standing here next to his girlfriend. I think Chris might have been there. But there was a girl that worked there who answered the phones and did the emails. And she's such a sweetheart. She did a lot of work. She was very, very cool chick. She was like a personal assistant to him, pretty much. She did a lot. I know his girlfriend Allison did a lot too, don't get me wrong, but this girl she did a lot. Well, Tim was yelling at her, kind of, like, not yelling at her, but the way he was speaking to her. He raised his voice, but he did speak to her in a very condescending, angry tone, because her computer was kind of going loony, and I thought she clicked on a pop-up. So standing there, when I walked into the situation, I said, "Did you click on a pop-up?" And I kind of, wow, what'd you click on?
So I want to remind everyone as we're listening to this. So in Tim's stream the other day, Tim said, well, first of all, he said that he didn't fire Adam. He said that Adam quit. And then Tim kind of just like accepted his resignation. And then he said that he had to let Adam go because Adam snapped at Lydia or blew up at Lydia, and that it was aggressive and it would have been illegal for Tim not to fire Adam because he got aggressive with Lydia. I just want to remind everyone of Tim's position on Adam, what he said on his stream a couple of days ago. Bree said, is she talking about Lydia? I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't know.
And he whipped his head at me and said, "Shh." And I was like, oh my God, this is really awkward. And I was like, Tim, what? And he then said, "Leave, Lisa. I said leave. And he said it like that. And it was really aggravating. And because it was just like, it was a little embarrassing, I'll be honest. I just had met these employees. It was, like, Jesus. I went to my car. I was like so upset. I was like sitting, like I had my head on my steering wheel, like, why did I even accept this offer? I don't want to come all the way here. I had to drive 12 hours with my kids in the car, throwing up every 20 minutes to a half hour. I put my top, I have a 2 and a 5-year-old. I had to put them through that, bringing them all the way out there. Tim did pay for my pod. I was grateful for that. I didn't want to go out there, but did he do that? Like he moved to Adam? Yeah. It was nice of him to do it. It wasn't the help I needed or that I wanted. I did take it though. So after that incident, I was like, shit. So I had to talk with Chris. I was like, Chris, what's the deal? He's like, yeah, I know. Sometimes when he does it, you just got to pull him aside. And I'm like, man, this is ridiculous. He should have been doing this in his office, first off. That's not cool. And so after that, there was just so many things. He did that. This wasn't the first time he did this. He did this quite a few times with his employees. And I tried having a talk with him, and I said, Tim, you got to stop doing that. I said, be a leader, not a boss.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
I forget when.
That's actually really good advice. Tim, as the CEO of that company, sets the tone for the entire rest of the company. I said this in one of my streams that I did earlier. Like, if Adam has admitted that he snapped and kind of blew up a little bit at Lydia. He clarified what that looked like in a stream that he did last night. I posted clips of that today on the channel because apparently last night we found out that over the weekend, Tim texted Adam's wife or messaged Adam's wife on Facebook. He didn't message Adam. Isn't this funny? This tells you a lot about where Tim's head is at right now in regards to this situation. He didn't message Adam directly. He messaged Adam's wife. I just want people to think about that for a second. If you're married and you have a beef with your friend, and your friend messages your spouse and says, your husband is really mean and a bad person, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. And so Adam told that story yesterday. He was really pissed about it. I posted a clip on the channel today. But what I wanted to say about this is Adam said in that conversation, in that same stream, that the tone that he had in that stream was roughly the tone that he had with Lydia. Okay, which was not something that you would get fired for in any job. Honestly, like people yell at each other in jobs all the time. It happens frequently. Unless it is persistent and it is aggressive, it rarely results in firing. It extremely rarely results in firing. So anyone that says otherwise doesn't know what they're talking about. But what I will say here is that I said that it was probably Tim's behavior that Adam was emulating, because when you're the CEO of a company and it doesn't really matter if that company has 3 employees, it doesn't matter if that company has 3,000 employees, you set the tone for everyone else. And so if you're running around and snapping at everyone else, then you're giving your employees permission to do the same. If you are running around having a condescending tone with everyone else, you are giving your employees permission to do the same. You can't say quite literally, rules for me and not for thee. That is what Tim is doing. He might not even be aware that he's doing it, but that's what he's doing. And he might be telling himself, I'm the CEO, I can do what I want. Well, not if you're running a professional operation where you expect your employees to do their best work. No one can do their best work in an environment where they are afraid of their boss. And everything tells me about this situation that people who work for Tim are afraid of Tim. They don't know how he's going to react. They don't know what he's going to do. He's blowing up at people over little minor things that in the real world would not be that big of a deal. I just find the whole thing so sad. I don't know if it's always been this way or if this has been like more of like a recent thing, but like it is just completely and totally unnecessary. Andrew says, hello from Canada. I enjoy the work you do and just wanted to give you a little support watching you on a flat screen with Chromecast. Thank you, Andrew. I really do appreciate it. Guys, mount that like button if you're enjoying the stream so far. Do you see grounds for lawsuits against Tim? No, not right now. I don't, because workplace bullying is not illegal. Despite what Tim said in the stream the other day, workplace bullying isn't illegal unless it is related to a protected class. And I don't have any evidence to believe that this is related to a protected class. Now, if Tim, say, stole something from one of his employees, if he stole something like hard drives or things like that, that he refused to give back after he fired those employees, if he has stolen things, that might be a different story. But that remains to be seen. Lisa says in the chat, they walk on eggshells. If your employees walk on eggshells, that's not a good thing. You are not going to get their best work out of them. Your employees need to trust you. Your employees need to know that they can deliver you bad news without you blowing up at them or firing them, because bad news happens in the workplace. It just does. You hope that good news happens a whole heck of a lot more, but if you're blowing up at people or punishing them in any way when they deliver you bad news, instead of focusing on how do we fix the problem, how do we move forward, how do we get to the result that we all want, you're not going to be successful. The way Tim is running this company is not sustainable. I promise you. And to be quite frank, I'm kind of surprised it hasn't fallen apart already. Brandon said, I hope Tim can improve, but over the years, I feel like his ego is overinflated beyond repair. So unfortunately, I doubt he'll be self-reflective, but will still be successful due to his work ethic. That very well may be, but Tim is going to keep on cycling through employee after employee after employee. And, and, and if Tim is really a narcissist, he has actually more reason to change than any, because Tim will not be as successful as he could be unless he fixes this problem. Tim will be successful no matter what. I truly have no doubt about that. But he will not be as successful as he could be if he does not fix this problem. It is a fixable problem. It doesn't have to be like this. Blastcop Badger said, facts on leaders versus authority figures, it's even more crucial in the military. Oh, I bet it is. I absolutely bet it is. All right, let's keep going.
And one out the other. So after that, I remember it was that same girl. It was her birthday, and we actually did an episode on it on the Cast Castle. Everybody was there except him. When I said, Tim, we're going to sing happy birthday to her, do you want to come join in? I made her a cake. He said, no. He wouldn't even let us sing in the green room in the area where all the guests hang out. And this was like I don't think he had a podcast that night. So we or it might have been before his show. He was too busy watching the movie Don't Look Up. So finally, the last straw where I got tired of it.
Hang on, I just want to do a quick pause. I mean, and that's bullshit too, man. It is not a lot of effort to go sing happy birthday to someone. It is nothing to allow someone to have a cake and a birthday party, especially when there's nothing else going on. That's a control issue. Awesome Human said, here's some beer money. I appreciate that, Awesome Human. This is an interesting case study on workplace dynamics with a narcissist you could write a paper on. I've already written a really big paper about workplace bullying. I actually wrote an ebook on narcissism a long time ago now. Maybe I still have it somewhere. I find this stuff to be soul-sucking to write about. It's part of why I don't really work on this stuff that much anymore, because I had to interview so many people about being bullied in the workplace. I cannot even tell you guys the stories I've heard. They're so tragic and they're so hurtful, and it's really, really bad. For anyone that watched Cast Castle, it was the episode when I made her birthday cake, and yeah, he couldn't be bothered. I remember the only time that I've been in the presence of Tim. I'll say the presence, the royal presence. It was it was, um, it was when I was on Adam's show the first time. Fun fact, I was the very first guest on Adam Krigler's show, and I did it in person because I was in Philadelphia for, a walkaway rally that we both spoke at, and after we spoke at the rally, we went back to the house in New Jersey where everyone was, and because they were in New Jersey at the time, and, went downstairs, did Adam's show, came up, and I was in the room I was waiting for like my lift to show up, and everyone was hanging out in that big room where Tim used to do his podcast from when it very first started, and everyone was there. Everyone was there, and when I walked in, a bunch of people kind of came over. Lydia came over, Ian came over, like, said hello, introduced themselves, all that. Tim didn't even acknowledge my existence. Wouldn't even like look at me. And that was fine. And I was like, "Okay, well, if he doesn't wanna say hi, like, there's nothing I can do about that." But, like, it was one of the most awkward experiences of my life. I've literally never been in a situation like that where, like, everyone in the room is, like, coming over and saying hi, and at least, there's some sort of, like, acknowledgement that, like, there's a person here, and he just, like, sat there and just looked straight ahead, and when it's, like, one of those purposeful things, like, he's purposefully not even looking at you? That's what it was, and that always stuck with me because I was like, "That is so petty and so stupid and so unnecessary. Like, why would you do that?" I just really didn't understand. But now hearing stories like this where, like, Tim refuses to let someone have a birthday in like, the green room, or like, "No, this is a rumor. I have never been on Timcast. I was never on it." Which is fine. But, like, it's like these things where he, like, refuses to join in and sing happy birthday. It's like, why? What are you doing? Like, be a human being. I don't understand it.
I made him. I didn't know this was going to happen. I made these pictures for him. I had them in these frames. My mom had them. They were pictures of us skating. I was at the skate park when we were teenagers in Burbank, Illinois, and my mom took them because she used to be into photography. So it's all of us. I'm in some of them, and I thought, you know what, this would be a really nice thing to put in the house to make it look like friendly. I mean, maybe it'll be nice because he has skaters come here. Maybe we can hang out in a skate park. So I got the pictures from my mom's photo album. I found a bunch of 5x7 and 4x6 frames, and I framed them, and I brought them to the house, to the Cast Castle. Well, when I brought them to Allison, she said Tim said no. And I was like, oh, that's a bummer, And look, I tried to make these pictures because I thought, Tim and I didn't really have a close relationship already. So I thought maybe this would be something that I can do for him to, like, just help us bring us closer together.
I agree.
I don't listen to his podcast really. I'm not really political, but I just wanted to be there to support him, to just be there and be his sister and be supportive. And so because he said no to the pictures, I thought I'd have a talk with him privately in his little, like, living area. And I said, no. Tim, hey, how come you don't want them hung up in the house? Maybe I can help you hang them up in your place, And he said, why would I hang up pictures of people I haven't spoken to in 16 years, Lisa? Why would I do that? That was his response. You know what? My eyes welled up with tears. I felt like I was going to cry my eyes out. It was hurtful. I turned to Allison, and she said, Lisa, I'm really sorry. I didn't know he was going to do that. I said, yeah, neither did I. And that was when I knew he wasn't my brother anymore. It's just different. So after that, he wasn't 100% the reason why I left. That was part of it. I wasn't happy. My kids, they weren't happy there at all. It's like I wanted to be there, but I just couldn't. I just couldn't do it. So, listen, I'm completely grateful that Tim helped me out in a bind, 100%. I mean, it was really great of him. And I don't want to just make this video just to shit on my brother. I do love him, but hey, he's not him anymore. I I think, and like I said on Adam's thing, I think he needs to take a step back and really look at the person he's become, because he's not that person anymore. I mean, I know him and I weren't close already, you know? So it just sucks because the Tim that I knew, at least the Tim that I somewhat like, you know, had some kind of relationship with, just, damn, this is a different Tim. I don't know. It's crazy. So anyways, so fast forward to, I tell Tim and Allison, you know what? Situation has changed. I have a way to go back to Illinois where my kids can be happy in a house. I was able to come back. It was, things worked out really well, and for my kids. And I know Tim said my kids were welcome in his house. It didn't really feel that way. It was weird. Like here, for instance, there was a time when my 5-year-old daughter, she was playing on he has a little arcade thing with a joystick, and she was playing with the arcade joystick thing, and she was wrenching on it a little bit. So Tim said, "Hey, can you get her off of that? She's going to break it." And I said, "Oh my God, absolutely, of course." You know, so I was like, "Hey." So I had my 5-year-old get off, and she really liked playing on it, but that's okay. I understand, you know. So I had her get off of it, but she had been there all day. So I had my 2-year-old son. They were both really tired. They didn't take a nap because I didn't have daycare. I brought them to the house sometimes, and so she started throwing a temper tantrum, and I couldn't really get a handle on it. I was trying. I wanted to. My daughter was laying flat on the rug, covering her face. She was scared because there was like a bunch of people. There was like,
Hang on, I wanna just highlight something Lisa's saying in the chat right now. She said, "Plus, Ian complained that my kids were too loud because he slept in till 5 p.m. Well, must be nice, Ian. Must be nice." Emphasize says, "You can hear the abusive imprint of his tone in her voice. That means she is quoting him verbatim, Tim Verbage." Yeah, I mean, I can hear Tim's voice in my head. Can anyone else hear Tim's voice in their head as Lisa's describing this? I just think it's so sad, and like, you know, I watched Tim a lot on my Red. Obviously, I never knew Tim in person, obviously. I don't know Tim like Lisa does. But I watched him a lot on my red pill journey in 2019 mostly, and then during 2020 I basically stopped watching people on YouTube because I didn't want to be influenced by them, to be honest. I wanted to be able to develop my own story. And so I had stopped watching Tim at some point, and then I only recently like started watching Tim again out of necessity over like some election stuff. And I got to tell you, like the difference between even then and now is so stark to me. It's like he's a different person. And I'm seeing that from an outsider, and I can't imagine. I imagine that other people are feeling the same way. And you know, one of the things that I've heard, and I don't actually, I feel like I can actually share this. One of the things that I've heard from several people is that after Tim got COVID, he changed. Like, I guess he really thought he was going to die, or got like really like he got really, really sick. And after, I've heard from more than one person that like after Tim got COVID, he really doubled down on like, I'm gonna grow as quickly as I possibly can and make as most and make as much money as I possibly can. And that became like his core mission. And you know, if he has narcissistic personality disorder, that's always been there anyway. But if he really doubled down, I mean, like that could explain the change that I've seen in him, because it's just like it does really seem entirely focused right now on money and status. And if that's what it is, fine. If Tim really just wants to make a metric F ton of money, he's more than capable of doing it. If he really just wants to become the biggest podcaster in the world, he's more than capable of doing it. But how much is he going to sacrifice in the process of doing those things is my question. Is it worth it? First Mountain Mama says, agree with previous comments, Carlin. This format and your academic style with some heart and compassion sprinkled in is honestly refreshing. I really do appreciate that. I'm really trying not to demonize Tim. I don't want to. My intent is not to destroy him. I don't want to do what the quartering did to Jack Murphy. I don't think that was good either. I think human beings are human beings and they're imperfect and they're flawed and and all of us are flawed. Every single one of us is going to go, listen, man, I went through hell in 2021. A lot of you lived through that hell with me, watching me go through hell on my channel. I went through, and for part of 2022, if I'm honest about it, like I went through hell publicly for a good year and a half. I understand being a flawed person. I understand, you know, not always being perfect on the internet. God knows I know better than most people. Um, Lisa says, I got there right when he got COVID. Isn't that interesting, Lisa? Isn't that interesting? So I really do not want to make it this thing where I don't want to destroy Tim. I want Tim to be successful. I just want Tim to fix this problem. John Doe says, Carlin, knowing what you know, what is Tim's path to redemption? Tim should hire me to fix the problem. I'm only half joking about that. I can actually fix this problem. Tim will never do that. But no, I mean he needs to the very first thing that Tim needs to do is he needs to acknowledge that there is a problem and he needs to acknowledge that he has a role in fixing the problem. He needs to hire a very competent, very capable executive coach. He needs to listen to that executive coach. He needs to actually talk with that executive coach. He needs to be an authentic human being with that executive coach. This is a very eminently fixable problem because one of the things that one of the things that's come through loud and clear in talking to the people I have in the past couple of weeks is that the people around Tim love Tim. They really do. The people around Tim love Tim to the point of being unhealthily addicted to Tim. They want Tim to succeed. They want Tim to do well. But Tim has traumatized a lot of them with his behavior. That's just the truth. He has traumatized people. And I think that the people around him would be eminently forgiving of Tim if Tim acknowledged that things are not going as planned in regards to the people management in his organization and he started to take steps to fix it. But acknowledging there's a problem is going to be his first step towards fixing it. What did the quartering do to Jack Murphy? Oh, the quartering went after Jack Murphy viciously. Viciously. And I think he went way too far. And I said that at the time. I didn't think Jack Murphy should have been canceled to the extent that he was. People will disagree with me, but I'm sorry. Adults have sex lives, people. Adults do adult things. Get over it. Don't expect your influencers to pass a purity test. Your influencers will always fail if you expect them to pass a purity test. I promise you. Lisa says he has major HR problems. And guess what? Your typical HR professional is not going to be able to fix these problems. You need someone, I'm sorry, like Tim needs someone like me that understands this stuff and knows how to navigate it. Again, I'm not under any illusion here. Tim is never going to reach out to me after what I've done in the last week. It's never going to happen. It never would have happened anyway. But if he's really lucky, he can find someone like me that will help him. Breaking the Flaw says, "Nah, boycott Tim Pool." I mean, I wouldn't say that. I think that if I know Joey, your issues with him and your issues with him and my issues with him are very very similar. But I wouldn't go that far. Lisa says Chris was so much better and he was so capable of doing his own thing. Yeah, I mean that's a whole other part of this story is Chris's thing in it and him being kind of taken into this as well. Let's see. Do I have any more chats here? Well, this is true that Jack Murphy also did handle that situation extremely poorly. I also said that at the time. Jack Murphy effed up that situation from the very beginning and he made it worse on himself, but I also think that I think what happened to Jack Murphy was a little bit much for my taste. Anyway, let's keep going.
12 to 15 people or something like standing around, and she was screaming and crying. And she, like I said, she was really tired. I mean, I don't know. And so I went to go over to her to comfort her and pick her up. I was going to take her to the other room and have a talk with her. Now, normally, if this was my own house, I know they say ignore the temper tantrum because they're doing it to get attention. But in this case, it was like, I felt really embarrassed, okay? Because like my kid is screaming, and all these people are like only one guy out of the whole bunch had kids, so he understood. But everyone else was kind of like, and I'm sure they were understanding, but I don't know. It's hard to explain if not a parent. I don't know. So I went to go comfort her, and Tim yelled at me not to. And he's like, no, don't touch her, Lisa. Don't go over there. And I was like, Tim, I have to go talk. I have to go get her. No, don't touch her, Lisa. First off, it's not his kid.
Yeah. Why is Tim giving parenting advice?
And he said, I don't go do that. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because that's what mom would do. Mom would tell you to ignore the behavior. And if you watch my TikTok about my DNA story, that's the reason why I'm not speaking about mom. So I was like, what? I was like, yeah, because mom did such a bang up job. And he goes, I'm a fucking millionaire. He said that in front of all of his employees. It was disgusting.
And that's the narcissist coming out. Because that's what Tim thinks of as first is money. You saw this with Adam too. What did Tim do at the end of Adam's stream when he super chatted in? He was like, $250,000 ain't enough for you, man, building your own studio. It wasn't enough. Tim thought it was all about money. It had nothing to do with money at all. It had to do with Adam wanting to be listened to and Adam wanting to be considered. It's the same thing here. Is Tim thinks his parents did a bang up job because he made a lot of money? Like, guess what? Okay, here's a little tidbit that you learn when you're an organizational psychologist and you train CEOs and like vice presidents and executives and stuff like that. People who are really successful in life often have really fucked up childhoods. It's a balance. If your childhood is really fucked up, that can often be the thing that drives you to be really successful. And as we talked about earlier, with people with narcissistic personality disorder specifically, the reason they have narcissistic personality disorder is part genetics, who your parents are, and it's part your upbringing. Is your childhood fucked up? And so oftentimes people who have narcissistic personality disorder are balancing out and coping with that messed up childhood. But narcissists also value status and money and image above all else. Narcissists can be extremely successful in the world. Narcissists are really able to navigate people. They're able to navigate political situations. They're able to network. They're able to build things. They're able to build companies because they believe in themselves. They have a lot of people say narcissists have low self-worth. I don't believe that's true. They have extremely high self-worth because they're constantly reinforcing this image. Is it artificial? Yes. But it doesn't make a difference. Narcissists rise up to the top of organizations all the time. Narcissists are disproportionately likely to be elected president of the United States. Do you think Donald Trump would have been elected president if he wasn't a narcissist? Of course not. So it's that fucked up childhood sometimes that pushes us to build things. So the fact that Tim said, I'm a millionaire, and that's evidence that mom did a great job. No, it's not. It's not at all. And money is not the most important thing in life. It's just, and this is another lesson that Tim needs to learn, by the way, not everyone values money above everything else. Last Scott Badger, I really appreciate the support tonight. Yeah, I know how Tim sees it to a point. Thus how I have a level of perspective on Timcast IRL. It's kind of mind-blowing. We have so much in common, but make different choices outside of our shared spectrum ticks. I mean, I think people have different priorities in life, you know? Some people value money. Some people value friends. Some people value status. Some people value, experience. Some people value solitude. Some people value knowledge. I mean, there are all sorts of values in the world, right? Lisa says, I think Tim and Ian are the type of people that if a toddler handed them a toy phone, they wouldn't answer it. Oh my God, isn't that sad? Isn't that sad? They wouldn't play with them. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Let me see. Are there any other chats I need to highlight? Let me just scroll real quick. All right. No, let's keep going.
I couldn't get out of that place fast enough. So I packed up my stuff. I got a pod, paid for it myself, and I left. Came back to Illinois. So I'm back in Illinois, and I'm happy. I'm here. My kids are happy. I can take them to the playground. I'm not having to work these long, long hours all day. So I've got something really stuck on my plate here. Oh my goodness, it's very stuck. That needs to stuck. Okay. So I'm here in Illinois, and it's things are great. And I ended up meeting a woman on social media who used to work for him. We're going to call her Shmishmina. So Shmishmina and I, we become fast friends. And like I said in that TikTok, we bond over the abuse. Man, what he did to her was really awful. She got it really bad.
It is really awful. I know what it is. I'm not going to say it, but it's really bad. It's really bad.
I'm confused because I guess she's not. I don't know. But what he did to her was really awful. She did not deserve what he did to her. But that's not my story to tell. So anyways, Shmina and I, we become best friends. And it was great. So, like I said, we bond over his abuse.
She's not talking about Lydia. It's not Lydia. I'm saying that because people in the chat are asking. It is not Lydia.
But Tim never mentioned her to me at all. I never heard of this woman once. In fact, when I was at his house, I think I saw some mail of hers. And I was like, hey, who's this lady? And I was like, oh, she just used to work here. So when I met her here back in Illinois, I did talk to a few other ex-coworkers still at the castle, and they were like, oh, Shmishmina's great. She's really cool. And I was like, oh, okay. And Tim was friends with her on Facebook. So I thought, oh, his personal Facebook. So I'm like, okay, she's a friend, not a foe. Okay. So that's what I got. So I felt like, she must be safe. And when I left, Tim and I left on good terms, by the way. And now you see the hug in this episode. We did leave on good terms as far as I know. But I think secretly, they were really upset that I left. So, anyways, so her and I, we talk, and Tim ends up finding out that we were talking. And at the same time, he's getting swatted like crazy. I know he was paranoid. He was really scared because, look, man, he doesn't know who was swatting his house. And that is really scary. And I get it, but I didn't appreciate him calling me up when I'm in the car with my kids. I've got my girlfriend's son in the car, and her 7-year-old, my 5 and 2-year-old, and my 13-year-old, and we're all on the way home from a long day. Now, if any of you have children or have been with a gang of kids all day at the zoo, it is exhausting. It's really exhausting. I was worn out. My legs were tired. All my snacks were gone. My kids ate them all. We just couldn't wait to get back home. And so I still had to drop my friend off. And Tim messages me and says, call me now. Tim does not talk to me. Nor has he ever, he doesn't just call me or text me. And this was like a while after I left his house, out of nowhere, out of the blue. So I was like, what? And I texted him back. I was at a red light and I said, I'm driving right now and I have the kids in the car. I can't, I'm like, I can't. And so I can't talk to you. So he was like, well, the FBI or the cops are on the way to my house right now. You need to talk to me. And I'm like, fine. So I call him. I'm like, fine. What do you want, Tim? And he immediately, the first thing out of his mouth is, why are you talking to Shmina? And I was like, what? And he started yelling at me, raising his voice, saying I was a fucking idiot in front of my children. I told him, by the way, that there were kids in the car. And that seemed to like go over his head, I guess. I said, hey, I got my friend here. I just got back from the zoo. What's up? And he's like, why are you talking to Shashmina? And so at first I was like, oh, God, I really don't want to deal with this, So I told him, and I was like, actually, you're friends with her on Facebook. And he's like, well, yes, but it was really ridiculous.
Rules
so
for thee, but not for, or rules for me, but not for
at
thee.
Me about talking to Shashmina. And it was just ridiculous. Dude, I didn't know the whole time that my 13-year-old recorded it. I had no idea. So that was funny. Sorry, I had to, my kids were being loud and I had to go put them back to bed. So yeah, he never told me who she was, this Shmashmina lady. So after he was screaming at me, I didn't send her the video, but because I had a copy of this video where Tim is so screaming in such an abusive manner. He was accusing her of being the swatter and me being the swatter. I sent her a link unlisted, not a copy of it. To, and her and I were listening it together. Like I re-listened to it, but with her, and I had her on the phone with me, and and she's like, oh my God, I can't believe he's yelling at me that way. And I'm like, I know, right? This is like insane. Little did I know she recorded the video, and a friend of mine that was out there with her told me, she said, by the way, you're going to have to stop talking to Christina. She's recording all of her phone calls. I had no idea. Mind blown. I had no idea. If Tim would have just told me who this woman was, I had no clue. He was friends with her on Facebook. Everybody in the house vouched for her. I felt really duped, and hey, that's on me. That was a big mistake on my part. I had no idea. And Tim was screaming at me on the phone, just, why are you talking to Shashmina? And I'm like, I didn't know. Why are you friends with her on Facebook? And everybody vouched for her. Nobody told me who she was when I worked there for months. It was insane. So I had to block her. And I had to stop talking to her right after that. I had no idea. So, yeah, and I can't release that video. I know you guys want to see it and hear it and all that stuff. I can't. My kids are in the car. My friend's kid is in the car. They're talking in the video. There's children in it. So I can't. I can't release it. I can't show that video. It's too weird because there's children in it. So you guys have to keep in mind that is why I cannot release it. But that all did happen. It was just insane. So yeah, after she recorded it, I was like, I say in the video.
I just want to do a quick pause here to acknowledge a super chat, and that story is really effed up. Blast Cop Badger says, I have a bunch of Timcast IRL here with me on my channel. It's only fair I acknowledge that my most trusted news personality, Lightning Rod, is no different than I overall. I still watch Tim over most news. Listen, man, and I really do mean this. I think that Tim is a good source of information. I always have. I have always thought that Tim is very smart, and I think that Tim has a beautiful way of putting information together, and I think he is much smarter than the average bear. I think he's a much harder worker than most people. I am not suggesting that anyone stop watching Tim. I don't want people to stop watching Tim. If you get value from Tim, you should still keep watching him. But he needs to fix what he's doing and how he's treating people. I'm sorry. How you treat people is more important than money. Like, it just is. And, I've obviously been known to, raise my voice every now and again, but, not with employees, not with people that I'm around every day, not with people that I'm expecting to work for me. It's just completely unhealthy what he's doing, not only to his employees, but to his own family. Last Cop Badger, oh God, he is literally as paranoid as I am, but is only less soft of it. Miranda, but damn, I want to meet Tim even more now just for the mirroring effect. Well, I don't know about that. I will say that I do, from what I've heard, Tim does seem extremely paranoid. Now, does he have reason to be? Well, sure, he's a target in a very real way. But Tim also has more than enough resources to get security for himself and for his loved ones. And, so I don't feel that bad for him because he can get security. I feel bad. No one should be put in that position, but some people have more resources than others. I don't know. Anyway, let's wrap this up.
Oh my God, I'm shaking, because the way he spoke to me, it's like he was interrogating me like he was a cop. it was like crazy. And then 12 hours later from that phone call, he accused me of being the swatter. He told me that she was the swatter, which wasn't true, because I have a friend of mine. We had a mutual friend that lived in LA and had just gone hiking with her. And Tim claimed that this Shashmina was in Maryland swatting him, and it wasn't true at all. And then 12 hours later, he accused me of being the swatter, his own sister. I'm like, really, man? Come on. So after that, I'm like, man, Tim continued to blow up my phone like 10 times in a row. And then I talked to Chris, and I told Chris that, you know, it was recorded by his niece, my daughter, you know. And Chris, I guess, told Tim, and Tim blew my phone up again 12 times. I was on my way home from the park with my kids, and Tim blew my phone up, like really scary. And then he blew my phone up again from another phone number. Like he has like a bunch of phones, I guess. And instead of, so I know he really wanted to talk to me, but I didn't want to. And Chris called me, and Chris was like, talk to Tim. He wants to talk to you. And I was like, no, not after the way he spoke to me. No, not at all. I am not going through that shit again. It was just really condescending, and it was scary. And I'm not, I just can't talk to him. He doesn't know how to talk to people. And so next thing I know,
You love it
Tim
emphasized, I
sends me a
know.
text message saying, we are filing federal charges against you. No hate,
What?
please, it's Tim. Please talk to me. I'm really sorry. No, it was that. So, yeah.
Hang on. I want to rewind and listen to that again, because that's actually kind of shocking a little bit. Shmishmina told me she was going to send him all of our conversations. And we got one more coming in. She ended up emailing him everything her and I talked about. Yeah, I mean, one of the things I will say about this entire situation, and again, I'm sorry, this is Tim's fault. Tim is the CEO. Tim is not the only paranoid person in this situation. There are a lot of paranoid people in this situation. And I think that Shmishmina, like, you know, I think it's gotten the better of her. I will say that. Blast Cat Badger says, I will not tell anyone what to do, but if you brainlessly just believe stuff, it's your fault. What is the results? Dr. K, I hope to talk to you live sometime just so I can experience the doctor personally. LOL, keep going. Well, send me that DM on Twitter and we'll have to see. I just want to rewind this part and listen to it again, because the fact that Tim was threatening his own sister with charges is something that I find extremely a little despicable, if I'm honest about it.
And then he blew my phone up again from another phone number. Like he has like a bunch of phones, I guess. And instead of, so I know he really wanted to talk to me, but I didn't want to. And Chris called me, and Chris was like, talk to Tim. He wants to talk to you. And I was like, no, not after the way he spoke to me. No, not at all. I am not going through that shit again. It was just really condescending, and it was scary. And I'm not, I just can't talk to him. He doesn't know how to talk to people. And so next thing I know, Tim sends me a text message saying, we are filing federal charges against you. No hate, Lise, it's Tim. Please talk to me. I'm really sorry. No, it was that. So, yeah. And look, I know I'm probably never going to have a relationship with my brother again, or my mother, or for Chris, you know, or with Chris. I don't know. And it really sucks. But you know what? I'm okay with that. So I know a lot of you were like, oh, how can his sister do that to him by making a video? And that's why. I just, you know what? I am much happier that they're not in my life. And it's really funny because I have a turkey platter my mom gave to me. I guess it had been in the family, I think, quite a few years, and it cracked this year. It cracked on my dining table during Thanksgiving. And boy, if that's not symbolic, I don't know what. That turkey platter being cracked, it was crazy, because it's like it broke and my family's broken. And I don't think this family can ever get repaired. Tim, I want the Tim back. And hey, if Tim's watching this, Tim, I want the Tim back that when we went to breakfast, you were teaching my daughter a magic trick. You were funny. You were just a better person. Go on vacation. Go. You have the money. Just go on vacation and take a break from all of that political crap. because I think you need it, buddy. It really, really sucks. It's really sad. I don't want his money. I'm perfectly happy here in the birds of Chicago. Think about it. I'm the only one that didn't take his money. My brother Chris stayed there. He's making quite a bit. Bought my mom a house. So there's that. And then there's me. And yep. So now you guys know the story. That's what it is. And thanks for keeping me company while I did my dishes. See you guys later.
All right. So that is Lisa's story. Lisa, again, I really want to thank you for being brave and sharing that story. There's a reason why Dave Rubin goes off the grid once a year. I think that that is very true, Bree. Listen, like I said, Lisa says, I forgot to mention our dad. He didn't take any money either. You know, one of the saddest parts of that story for me was when Tim and Chris refused to call Lisa's 5-year-old to wish them a happy birthday. So listen, here are my thoughts on the situation. Um I in the last 3 years, I never wanted to do this internet thing. This was not I mean, my channel regulars know this. I never wanted to do this internet thing. This was not part of my life plan. I had a private, quiet life that was great, that allowed me to live my life the way I wanted to, be around the people I wanted to. And I say that as preface because when I got thrown into this, like, content world, politics, YouTube, all of that stuff, that was a completely different world than anything I had been in for the first 38, 39 years of my life, whatever. I have witnessed so many people who I met at the beginning of my red pill journey in like early 2020. I have witnessed so many of those people descend into madness in the last 3 years. People that I used to consider friends, people that I confided in, people that I honestly thought that, like, we had oh, I'm 41, man. I'm 41. Not even wearing makeup right now. I don't think I'm doing too bad. But there are people that I really thought were my friends at the beginning of this, that I confided in, that I relied on, and I have watched those people one by one descend into madness. Really, they had become completely different people. I don't know if it's Twitter or if it's the pressure to constantly be like creating content or finding things to talk about or to get more and more famous or to stay relevant or any of these things. See, I never had that because I never wanted to be famous. I always wanted to use my platform to help people and to teach people the things that I could teach, because that's what I've been doing for years. I built an organizational psychology practice on teaching people, building programs, empowering people. I wrote my first book before any of you even knew who I was. And so I was just doing what I've always done before. To me, it was no different. But for a lot of people who strive to be famous, strive to be an influencer, strive to do exactly what Tim Pool is doing, I have seen so many of them lose their minds. Absolutely lose their minds. They become different people. They lose themselves. They become mean. They become vicious. They like there's one person that I know that his entire physical appearance completely changed within a year. I would not recognize this person if I passed by him down the street. I really wouldn't. And he was someone I was very close to. And then he completely changed, lost his mind, got sucked into Twitter, completely changed physically to be unrecognizable, looks 10 years older than the last time I saw him. And I say this because I would quite frankly be shocked if all of this hadn't had an impact on Tim. I really would. Tim is so successful. At the top of his game, has been for a while, has been working tirelessly on building this thing. And I say that to give people some perspective here. Do I think that there is part of Tim that has always been like this? Probably. Did being this guy on the internet bring out his narcissism even more? Probably. But there is something about this space, and this is why, contrary to what you might hear on the internet, this is actually why I don't interact with other content creators that much, because I don't want to get sucked into this space. I don't want to become them. I don't want it at all. And since I have kind of disconnected from the content creator space and have just focused on doing what I want to do, I have been so much happier and my life has just gotten better and better and better. And I've been able to focus in on projects that I think matter. And I have no regrets about it. But I guess I'm telling this story because I really want people to understand that there is something about this space that brings out the madness in people. And I think that that's gotten to Tim. And it seems to me, and again, I say this not only from the stuff that is now public, but I also say this from the stuff that I know that people are telling me in private. I think it's had a very big impact. I think he has lost perspective on what matters. If Tim wants to be a 100 millionaire or whatever, he can very easily do it. Tim can make truckloads and truckloads of money. But I think what Tim really needs to understand is that money is not going to make him happy. He already has more money than he knows what to do with. Money is not going to make him happy. Houses are not going to make him happy. Technology is not going to make him happy. What's going to make him happy is the people he surrounds himself with and the experiences that he has. And it really seems like he's not respecting those things. You are beautiful. Thank you for that. You are too. Everyone's beautiful in their own way. So I'm really grateful for Lisa for sharing her story. We're up to 1:30 a.m. I'm about to wrap it up. But you know, I want to emphasize this again. I don't hate Tim. That's not why I'm doing this. I don't want to destroy Tim. I don't think this is going to destroy Tim. I think Tim is going to be just fine. I am doing this because there are people involved that are being hurt. And I'm doing this because that's something that I've cared about for a long time. No one should have to work in an environment where they are abused. No one should have to work in an environment where they are walking on eggshells. No one should have to be afraid of their boss. It shouldn't be like this. And it's not necessary. And I really hope that Tim uses this as an opportunity to improve things, not just for the people around him, not just for the people who he's relying on to build his little empire, but it's going to improve things for himself as well. That's what he really needs to learn. And that's what I do hope happens. We'll see. Couple last super chat. Blast Cat Badger. Can I bribe you to do a stream to make me do a facing movement plus freely discuss whatever? I am trying because I have a time to engage after this. I will be very scarce. I have to go to bed right after this, man. But like I said, send me that DM on Twitter and we'll see what's up. My Twitter DMs are open, so I will get it. And I promise I'll get back to you. I used to work in assisted living. The happiest people were the ones who kept up relationships and had family that visited them. Some people had no one visit for the holidays. Everyone paid $8K a month. Yeah. Money is not going to make you happy. It's just not. He'll buy 100 truckloads of green golf balls. Well, he could if he wanted to. He could if he really wanted to. Jenny's getting inky with it says it also helps people who have been in similar situations to understand it and to heal from it. Yeah, and I think and that's the other reason I'm really focusing on this, guys, is listen, there are so many people who have been in toxic work situations, and I know it can feel hopeless, and I know it can feel like no one understands. There are a lot of people who understand. There are a lot. You all deserve better. If you're in a work environment where you're not being treated well, you deserve better. Not every work environment is like that. There are a lot that are just fine. There are some that are great. There are some that are exceptional. There are some that are, good enough. But no one deserves to be berated. No one deserves to be miserable, especially when you're working for someone else. If you're spending your time giving your energy to someone else, you deserve to be treated with respect and you deserve to be treated with empathy. And don't let anyone make you believe that you deserve anything less than that. One of the things that I love about Lisa's story is that she left. Because the reality is that in most toxic working environments, the only recourse you really have is to leave. That's the very best thing you can do. In situations where people are being bullied in the workplace and they report it to HR, 80% of the time, HR will take the side of the bully. They will either do nothing about the bullying or they will actually overtly take the side of the bully and retaliate on the target. That's 80% of the time. If you're in a toxic working environment, just leave. Just leave. You don't owe them anything. Go find another job. And by the way, the very best way to get a raise is to find another job. That's just the truth. And know that you're worth it. You don't deserve to be beaten up every day. You really don't. But guys, that is all I have for tonight. Now, I will be back tomorrow at 5 o'clock for a stream. I don't know what I'm streaming at 5 p.m. tomorrow yet, but I will find out. I will let you know tomorrow. But I do want to remind you that Thursday, we have Ben joining us. Ben is Tim's former network engineer. Ben set up all the technology at the Cast Castle. He was there for a while, and he's going to offer his perspective for us. And we're going to welcome him and treat him very well, just like you guys treated Lisa tonight. Thank you guys for being so kind to Lisa. Please mount that like button on the way out the door. Please go leave a nice comment of support on Lisa's video. I did link the video from my community page, so it is linked. If you look at the community post, it's right going to be at the top. But guys, I'm going to go to bed. But take care. Have a great night, and we'll see you soon.